Alright, guys, I'm back at it again with another review. This time will be reviewing the K drama Chocolate. If K dramas aren't your thing, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna get right into it with the review because it's a lot and I'm a mess. This show was absolutely beautiful and so well written. It did not feel rushed in any way. Every episode literally made me cry, and I seriously mean it did. Every episode made me cry in some type of way. I connected with it, or it brought out some type of emotion from me, and I was crying. Either it was full on ugly crying or some tears, but I was crying. Let's just say. Um, I just feel like you truly feel yourself loving these characters and in the show, and you're wishing for their happiness, and whether they get that happiness or they don't. um you just feel like a bond, honestly. It it was it's so hard to like talk about the show and describe what it makes you feel, but honestly, it's beautiful. And it doesn't help that the show has such an amazing soundtrack. Like, if I wasn't already in my feels crying during like certain scenes, as soon as like a certain like song came on, what if it was like that reoccurring song, like a theme song, it made me cry harder. Or if it was just, it just like everything flowed so perfectly. Like, why? Like, I'm not complaining, but I have never like had a K drama or any type of show for that matter make me cry every single episode. Okay. Well, like, it just, I'm so tongue tied. Like, I'm literally tongue tied just thinking about it and like reminiscing of like me crying watching the show. But the soundtrack's amazing. I've been listening to it on repeat, getting into my feels, thinking maybe I should watch this show again, you know, because it's it's an amazing show, and I know a lot of people really haven't watched it. It came out, I believe, in 2019, and I have not heard about it at all, or even like really seen anybody hyping it up. So here I am hyping it up. Um, I'm also gonna go ahead and give a spoiler alert because I will be discussing the whole show, or bits and pieces of it, whether I'm gonna go through like the whole like episode by episode, or mainly like focusing on like one key like aspect of the show. But I'm still gonna say spoiler alert because it's hard for me to describe a show without giving up the spoilers, especially if a show means so much to me as this show did. Chocolate is only 16 episodes long, and you can find it on Netflix. I believe that's the only streaming site you can find it on. I'm sure if you do like some digging around it, if you don't have Netflix, you can do some digging around on like the web, and you can most likely find Chocolate somewhere on the internet. But I watch it on Netflix because I have Netflix. Okay, so the show is about a man and a woman who become acquainted with each other by countlessly like running into each other. Um, it's, I'm gonna say, also, like, this is a this Chocolate is more of a mature series. So if watching like mature K dramas aren't your thing, then this probably isn't for you because the characters are actually in their like late 30s, I believe. Because I do believe like the show, the characters, they never say their ages. Let's just say that. They never say like how old they are. But I believe that they are in their late 30s. That's how how old the character is supposed to be. So if watching older mature characters aren't your thing for K dramas, I get it, because when I was a teenager watching K dramas, I can only like watch like ones where they were teenagers, quotes, um like high school dramas like that. This one, it's more of like they're adults, and maybe it's because I'm like an adult myself now that I'm really connecting with that. All right, so I'm gonna get back into it. So, it's a man and a woman who become acquainted with each other by running it because they keep running into each other, and along like a lot. They keep running into each other over like a long period of time. It's not just like every day they keep seeing each other. No, it's like one day they'll see each other, then like a week would go by, they'll see each other, or a month would go by, or a year, or 5 years, or 10 years will go by, and they see each other. It's not like a unrealistic of running into each other like that. Um, this one is kind of like it's more realistic because they run into each other like during a long period of time compared to like an everyday thing where I'm going to the grocery store and you're there, or I wake up from my house and you're there. But however, the lead protagonist is keeping something from the male protagonist, and you, the audience, begin to learn of this secret. So, the lead protagonist, her name is Cha Young. Cha Young. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Cha Young. I hope I am. I don't want to like mess it up. But anyway, so the lead protagonist, Cha Young, and is keeping something from the male protagonist, like the male lead protagonist, and his name is Kong, Lee Kong, but just Kong, his first name. So, the secret that Cha Young is keeping from Kong is that they had met very briefly when they were younger, when they were kids, like 10, 11. I think it's 10 that they met. So Kong had given Cha Young a meal when she seemed to be hungry and picking at some food. So sorry, picking at some of the food that was set outside in the back of his mom's restaurant. And reminder, this was happening when they were kids, 10 years old. So Kong feeds Cha Young to come back. Oh, sorry, I'm stuttering. I need to focus. Kong feeds Cha Young and tells her to come back later because he will make her some chocolate shasha to feel better. Yes, it's chocolate shasha. That's SHA, chocolate shasha. He literally says it like that in this show. But anyway, so Cha Young agrees, but due to her family's circumstances, she leaves their hometown later that day and is unable to come back to get her chocolate. Boy, I was crying. So Kong was left waiting, and I cried, because he's just outside waiting with his chocolate that he made. He worked hard for it, and she doesn't come. But a day later, Kong's deceased father's family visits him and his mother and basically forces them to move to Seoul with them because Kong is in the running against his uncle, who I think it's his uncle. Is it his uncle or his cousin, who is 2 years older than him, to inherit their family's hospital. So despite Kong not wanting to leave his hometown because he loves being with his mom and loves what they're doing with their restaurant and he wants to become a chef, the mother ends up agreeing to take him and herself to Seoul and leave behind the restaurant. After that, there's a time jump, and yes, get used to time jumps because they are necessary for this show, and there's only about 4 time jumps, I believe. That may seem a lot, but honestly, they're so necessary for this show. So there's a 10-year time jump if I can recall correctly, there's a 10-year time jump. So it goes from him to being 10 to 20, I think, the first time jump. 20, something. Let's just say that. So Kong, now we're introduced to Kong, who is older and he's smart, hardworking. He's a doctor. He's working at his family's hospital along with his cousin, who he's been competing against because they're competing to inherit the hospital, and they're both working there. So they're both I believe are the top doctors at the hospital. So this is when we are also introduced to an older Cha Young who seems so fragile and depressed. She seems out of it, and you can tell something changed her. As soon as you're introduced to her and you know who she is, you're like, this is not the girl that we saw eating all that food at the restaurant. and then like crying because the food was so good. Like, this girl's been through something. Like, what is it? But soon we learned that Cha Young was in an accident that almost killed her when she was little. This accident happened on her birthday when her mother left her at a mall or some sort of store. Her mom left her alone. Her mother told her to meet her at this store and that she would be there soon. Spoiler alert, the mother never shows. And that is the last time Cha Young had heard from her mother until the very last episode, when their meeting is brief. But basically, it was Cha Young's birthday that day, and I think this incident occurs a year after her and Cha Young had met as kids. So she's probably like 11 when this happened, and her mom was like, "Hey, meet me at the store, and I'll be there in an hour." Who knows how long she was waiting for her mother, but her mom never came. It's just so it makes me mad. Okay, anyways, now back to the store. So Cha Young is on the first floor of the store or mall. They don't really like say what it is. I keep forgetting what it is too. But she's on the first floor of the mall waiting for her mother. When who knows how much time has passed, and suddenly the building collapses. The collapse of the building is due to poor construction. We later find this out in the fourth or third episode. Yeah, wait, not the third. No, we find this out in the fourth or third to last episode. So it's like later on. Anyways, Cha Young wakes up from the building collapsing, and she's alone, buried under like debris. She's dirty. She just has this stuff on her. She's crying and she's calling out for her mother. This is when a woman who Cha Young can't see due to shrubble and like a block of like concrete blocking her view. But the woman calls out to Cha Young. We see the woman on her side, impaled through like the side of her like her left side with a metal rod, and she's covered heavily like with a few things. She can't get up. This stuff is like holding her down, and it's bad enough that she has something impaled into her side, so she could barely move, and you can tell she's not gonna make it. However, this woman calms down Cha Young and tells her she can make it, that help will be on the way, because as she's saying that, you can hear people outside drilling and already working on getting everyone out and trying to find them. So Cha Young and this woman share a brief conversation, and the lady ends up giving Cha Young some chocolate to calm her down, and says that she had came to the store to buy her son chocolate because he loves it, and she says she doesn't think she will end up ever giving it to him, and tells Cha Young to enjoy the chocolate that she has and to enjoy life. So this is where we learn that Cha Young and Kang are tied together by fate. A lot of things end up happening in the series, and it literally flows together so effortlessly. Cha Young is still in love with Kang, despite him being so different. Adult Kang is not gentle like she was imagining him to be, since he was like that during their brief meeting as kids. Present Kang is a workaholic who is constantly following what his grandmother and his father's side of the family has to say. His grandmother basically runs his life, and whatever she says, he does, because he doesn't know no better. He didn't have his mom to tell him what to do or what to say, or And Present Kang does not like Cha Young because she broke his best friend's heart. And ooh, yes, it starts to get all dramatic, and you just have to watch the series to get on that, because I promise you will love it. Honestly, it's not a love triangle. It is not a love triangle, girl. If you came to watch a series for a love triangle, this is the wrong K-drama, because I at that time, it's like a long story, but Cha Young ends up dating Kong's best friend. But Kong, he does not know who Cha Young is. He just sees her as like some stranger who's just dating his best friend, and breaks his heart. So Kong goes into her face and is like, "What's up? If you, But okay. So I'm just gonna get back to it because that's something that you need to watch for yourself to experience because it is painful to talk about it for me. So Cha Young and Kong end up getting reacquainted with each other again due to unforeseen circumstances and also another time jump. So also I didn't mention, adult Kong is a doctor, but adult Cha Young is a chef. And after this there's like another time jump and they get reacquainted again. They get reacquainted at a hospice where Cha Young is a chef temporarily. And boy, if you were hungry during this show, please don't watch it without eating because it will make you so hungry. Like I was craving all the food I saw, and I spent so much money like going to fast food places just trying to like feel that craving. But like that's Korean food, and I ain't gonna find that over here where I live. Or at least like not what I'm wanting to eat. So anyways, so Kong ends up being a doctor at the same hospice where Cha Young is a chef at. They meet a variety of people who are literally on their deathbeds, and we learn these beautiful people's background, stories, and last wishes. And Kong and Cha Young, as well as other staff members, come together to make their wishes come true. Some of the wishes come true, some of them don't. Who knows? You gotta watch it to find out, but I was crying. I literally want to cry. I was crying. This show, it's so sweet, beautiful. It's like so beautiful and bittersweet because it's a great story, but also it's so sad and I don't want to cry. The only word I could describe this K-drama chocolate is bittersweet. Please just watch the show. Please just watch the show so I can talk about it with somebody. Soon after, Cha Young and Kong find themselves alone together back in their hometown, after some stuff goes down. So they find themselves back in their hometown, and Kong learns who Cha Young really is, and that she knew who he was all along. And I'm crying because I start crying when Kong found out who Cha Young was and that he was a little girl that he met when he was little and fed. It made me cry because it's upsetting when you realize that Kong is suddenly upset, happy, embarrassed, and shook because he had been treating Cha Young so rudely. But all of those reasons to him were valid because there were a lot of things that Cha Young never corrected him on, but she could have. But I get it. She didn't want to complicate things, and it was necessary for the plot of the show. But still, I just want to cry. Like, the fact that we know before Kong that this is the girl he fed and made chocolate Shasha for and waited for makes me cry. Every time he is mean to her, I'm just like, the chocolate Shasha. It's her. It's her. And then if he calls her a bitch, I'm like, the chocolate Shasha. Or, I'm just crying. So anyway, so Kong and Cha Young become a couple. Yes. A little after, they become a couple a little after she reveals everything to him. And soon after, Cha Young tells Kong about the woman who saved her. At the mall. So even she even tells Kong her name. And that's when Kong literally has a silent panic attack. Like, fuck, that was his mom. The woman that saved Cha Young, that gave her the chocolate when they were buried beneath, was Kong's mother. I cried because even at the very end of the series, Kong Still, and I mean still, never told Cha Young that the woman who gave her the chocolate and gave her hope to live was his mother. Seriously, why did he never tell her, hey, the woman that gave you the chocolate and said that she was saving the chocolate for her son was me? I didn't know at the time that she left to get me chocolate. I didn't know. But that was my mom. Like, someone please explain, because I'm still not over this, and it makes me cry so hard when Kong found out that that was his mother that gave Cha Young the chocolate. But he never tells her that that was his mom. And it made me so upset. The whole time, I was just like, just tell her. Fuck. Like, you guys are a couple already. Just tell her. Like, it would connect you guys even more. But anyways, the last episode leaves you feeling full. You're full of happiness because a lot of characters either got their happy endings. You're full because some characters got bittersweet endings. You're full because you're crying. You're full because everything is cleared and there was no plot holes other than the fact that Kong never told Cha Young that the fact that the woman who gave her the will to live was his mother. I literally cannot. Like, why? Why? It's still not making sense to me. Why didn't Kong tell Cha Young that his mother gave her the chocolate? Like, why? I can't. I'm so upset. Like, that made me cry throughout the whole time that we knew, that he knew. Seriously, just watch Chocolate on Netflix and let me know what you think. Excuse me, sorry. I had some good food, so. But anyways, I'm gonna do a little like quick wrap up and say that I'm just gonna do like a little rating scale. I don't know how I'm gonna like this or what, but I'm just gonna rate the series out of 10. So that way you can see if like, hey, I heard this girl talking, heard her ranting about the fact that Kong never told Cha Young that that was his mom. So let me see how she rates the series. So I'm going to rate this series out of a 10 again. The cry level of the show was 10 out of 10. Cried every time, cried every episode, literally still crying. Did I enjoy? The level of enjoyment for the show was a 10. I loved it. The level of dislike for the show was a 1 out of 10. Would have been a 0 out of 10 if Kong told Cha Young that the woman that gave her the chocolate was his mother. But guess we didn't get that. The flow and the plot. Well, the flow level, like how everything, like the pacing, I guess the pacing of the show was 10 out of 10. It was not rushed. It was paced well. The time jumps were necessary. I didn't feel like it was unnecessary, that it was, I guess, like frustrating or nothing like that. So it definitely like flowed well together. It's paced well. As for characters, did I enjoy the characters? Yes, I give them a 10 out of 10. You know, you get to connect to these characters and share their happiness and their loss, and you get to cry with them and be happy when they're happy. It's beautiful. And for the soundtrack, I give it a 10 out of 10. It was beautiful. The songs, the theme song came on at the right times. It was truly, I don't know, it's just hard to put it. But anyways, last one. So the story. The overall story is 10 out of 10. It was unique. And it literally felt full circle for me. And seeing everything like come together and you having this like secret from like one of the characters and knowing about the secret. It's different. I thought it was unique because it was realistic at times too. Like, these characters bumped into each other during different periods of time. It wasn't like an everyday thing. Again, it was like at different times in their life, whether they're young adults, you know, in their late 20s, early 30s, late 30s. It was realistic. And though also I really like that they didn't rush the love. Like, they didn't just jump into them being like in love and all that. Their connection took time to grow. It Compared to like some other K dramas where the girl and the guy are like kissing like the 4th or 5th episode, or they're in love with each other by the 2nd episode, or they sleep together by the 1st episode, and you're just like, what's going on? Like, you guys barely like just saw each other across the street, and now you guys are kissing, or now you guys are in love, and that's the love of your life. Like, no, Chocolate was so realistic. I can definitely see like something like this has happened in real life, and it's beautiful because it's an adult love story, and you're just like, damn, I want that to happen to me. It's amazing. Again, that's all I gotta say, but please just watch Chocolate on Netflix so I can have somebody to talk to. It's amazing. You will not regret it.